Hitchcockian is one of the most overused adjectives in film criticism today. Critics tend to slap it on any moving picture with half an ounce of dramatic irony, wielding it so broadly and frequently that it loses precision. What I assume when I read Hitchcockian on a half-assed Netflix logline boils down to a very mundane genre description. Someone is lying. There might be suspense. Mrs. Peacock in the billiards room with a thematically rich, blunt object. Even pieces that are clearly inspired by the work of Agatha Christie tend to be labeled Hitchcockian. However, there is the occasional movie that earns such a title. The best of Hitchcock's works, and often his most underrated, are incredibly intimate and small dramas that ask terrifyingly big questions. Do we ever really know the people we're close to? Can we ever trust the ones we love? And can we still love them, even knowing what they are? Phoenix is the story of Nellie, Nina Haas, in her sixth collaboration with Petzold, a concentration camp survivor who returns to Berlin requiring intense facial reconstruction surgery. The process leaves her unrecognizable to the husband she's been searching for, Johnny. Nellie has been dissuaded from looking for Johnny by her friend Letty, who suspects he's the one that turned her over to the Nazis to prevent his own imprisonment. Nellie is insistent, however, and something about her desperation draws Johnny to the incognito Nellie for a mission. He wants her to pretend to be his dead wife, so together they can collect her recent inheritance. Nellie thus restarts her relationship with her husband by play-acting at being herself, transforming into who Johnny remembers. She quickly discovers how much of her own identity was tied to her husband's image of her, and she has to confront what she's willing to sacrifice to be with him. The comparisons to Vertigo are obvious, the making of one woman into the memory of another through hair dye and makeup, but Phoenix is about something bigger. It is a story about trying to go back to how things used to be, trying to become one's own self again, and trying to ignore the reality of what Germany and its people have become. This is a movie about Holocaust denial. Early into the beginning of their ruse, Nellie tells Johnny that she'll have to provide stories about surviving Auschwitz when people ask about her experience. He stresses that no one will ask about the camps. He's right. They don't. Johnny insists Nellie wears a red dress and makeup for her staged arrival home. He does not care about the impracticality, and neither do his friends. No one wants reality, and everyone wants memory. This pressure to forget and pretend comes not only externally, but from within Nellie herself, who does not desire a new face, a new country, a new life. She denies her Judaism, she refuses Letty's wish for them to move to Israel, and she insists she can begin again with Johnny, just like the camps never happened. It is Vertigo, but a crueler, inverted version, where our Kim Novak doesn't need a Jimmy Stewart to make her over and sacrifice her identity. She's almost more eager to do it to herself than he is. It's almost a shame that Hitchcock's best-known work is Psycho, which, although a masterpiece of filmmaking, breaks many of the conventions Hitchcock enjoyed in his earlier works. Psycho is about strangers, a bad choice of hotel. Most of his work in the 1940s and into the 1950s explored the horror of intimacy, the danger in exposing yourself to love, and in welcoming people into your space. Movies like Rebecca, Shadow of a Doubt, Notorious, Dial M for Murder, and Suspicion are all primarily restricted to the domestic sphere, and all of them, with the exception of Shadow of a Doubt, which changes the suspicious relation to a beloved uncle, are about malevolent and untrustworthy husbands. Who needs a demented serial killer when all you have to do is have a husband bring his bedridden wife some peculiar milk? It is notable, though, that in all of the previously mentioned Hitchcock movies, the domestic problems of the main couple seem to exist in a vacuum. They are all genteel, well-to-do white couples, with time to host dinner parties. The world they live in doesn't have to think about such complicated and country-defining issues like Nazis, with the exception of Notorious, a personal favorite of mine. In Christian Petzold's series Love Under Occupation, which includes Phoenix, Barbara from 2012, and Transit from 2018, Petzold tells stories that would have all made great Hitchcock movies, but there is an added layer of complication. In a world on the brink of collapse, is there objective morality anymore? His series puts domestic entanglements under a framework of societal oppression. Those same questions Hitchcock asks are asked again. Can you trust the one you love? But they are also paired with another set of questions. Does trust really matter in a world where you might not survive to see morning? What truth are you willing to sacrifice to keep on going? In Roger Ebert's 1996 review of Vertigo, he examines the role of women in Hitchcock's films, noting how they sport the same blonde hair and icy demeanor, but more specifically, how they were imprisoned in costumes that subtly combined fashion with fetishism. Sooner or later, every Hitchcock woman was humiliated. Vertigo is by far his most sympathetic work to the plight of the doomed woman, and both Vertigo and Phoenix make it clear how much the woman's costume is demanded by the man or appealing to the male fantasy. Nellie, however, is given something none of Hitchcock's unfortunate wives were lucky enough to have: a way out. She is the sole survivor of her family, and her windfall can either be a way back into Johnny's life or a tool to build her own. It's up to her if she chooses humiliation. Christian Petzold is a very good director. I first stumbled across his work earlier this year with the lovely and ethereal Undine, and recently watched his masterpiece, Transit. He has a wonderful sense of atmosphere, and I've particularly noticed excellent sound mixing in all of his movies. Phoenix is scored by constantly creaking floorboards, birds chirping, wind blowing through the trees, all emphasizing an apparent peacefulness we know does not exist, as we look on stacks of collapsed bricks and the starving figures trying to climb over them. The ending of Phoenix is a pistol of a scene. Any review on Letterboxd will stress this. They are correct. Phoenix is not a long movie, and it doesn't need to be. For true, breathtaking, and heart-stopping storytelling, both Hitchcock and Petzold have proven you only need an hour and a half. Thank you for watching.